Police impersonation is not new, it is not rare, and it is far more dangerous than most people realize. The Federal Bureau of Investigation tracks it. Law enforcement agencies train for it. And yet, every year, dozens of people fall for it. Because the disguise is not just a costume, it is a system, a psychology. The fake officer does not simply wear a uniform. He studies how real officers move, speak, and command. He learns what makes you comply before you even have the chance to think. Fear of authority is one of the deepest instincts human beings carry. It is older than government, older than written law, and some people have learned to weaponize it completely. What separates these cases from ordinary crime is not the boldness of the act. It is the precision, the preparation, the understanding that most people, when confronted with a badge and a uniform and a voice that carries the right weight, will not question. They will simply obey. That obedience is not weakness. It is conditioning. Decades of social programming telling us that the person in the uniform is the person we run toward, not away from. And when someone reverse engineers that conditioning, the results are not just criminal. They are deeply, psychologically destabilizing. One night in Arizona, a woman driving alone noticed lights in her rearview mirror. Red and blue. Flashing, she pulled over without hesitation. The man who approached her window was in full uniform. Badge, belt, radio. He spoke with complete calm, the kind of calm that feels official, practiced. He told her there had been a report of a suspicious vehicle matching hers. He asked for her license, her registration. He shone a flashlight directly in her face, and then he asked her to step out of the car. Something felt wrong, but she could not name it. That is what made it so dangerous. The wrongness was just underneath the surface, like a current you cannot see from the shore. She complied. He had done this before. Investigators would later discover a vehicle outfitted like a command unit. Flashing lights mounted behind the grille. A police radio. A cage partition in the back seat. Victims described him stopping them, detaining them, searching them, threatening warrants, threatening arrest. All of it completely fabricated. Not one real badge, not one verified credential, just the performance of power, executed with the kind of fluency that only comes from repetition. The woman in Arizona was not naive. She was not careless. She was simply human. And he had spent considerable time studying exactly what that meant, and exactly how to use it against her. The real officers who eventually pulled him over did something deliberate. They did not confront him immediately. They let him talk. Every claim he made, they let him make it. Every credential he cited, they nodded and let him continue. Because experienced investigators know that a liar under no pressure keeps building the lie, higher and higher, until it collapses under its own weight. And it did. What is chilling is not just the deception itself, it is the confidence, the rehearsal, the way he had internalized the role so completely that even surrounded by real officers, he kept performing. Psychologists have a name for this pattern, the borrowed authority syndrome. The predator does not just impersonate power, he becomes it in his own mind. The uniform stops being a disguise, it becomes identity. That is what makes fake officers so uniquely dangerous. A thief wants your wallet. A scammer wants your credit card number. A fake officer wants your submission. Complete. Unquestioned. And he has built an entire constructed world to get it. The investigation revealed layers that went far beyond one incident on one road. There were records. Patterns. A methodology so refined it suggested not just criminal intent, but something closer to obsession. The kind of obsession that does not stop until something external forces it to. There is an old concept in Kabbalistic thought, the concept of the klipa, the shell, the husk, something that looks on the outside exactly like the real thing, but has no inner light, no animating soul. The Zohar teaches that the greatest deceptions are not those that look obviously wrong. They are the ones that look right. The ones that wear the shape of truth so convincingly that even the wise are momentarily fooled. A fake officer is not just a criminal using a costume. He is, in the most literal sense, a shell wearing the form of protection while offering only danger. What makes these cases genuinely unsettling is not the crime itself, It is the mirror they hold up to all of us. We trust the uniform, not the person wearing it. We trust the symbol, and we never stop to check what is behind it. That is a vulnerability as old as humanity itself. Every society that has ever created symbols of authority has also, inevitably, created the conditions for those symbols to be stolen. The badge, the robe, the crown. History is full of people who wore the costume of legitimacy while operating entirely outside of it. What changes in the modern context is the sophistication, the access to equipment, the ability to study real law enforcement behavior through publicly available footage, training videos, and documentation. The fake officer of today is not improvising. He is studying. He was arrested, charged. The vehicle was seized as evidence. The victims came forward. But here is what investigators said quietly, in conversations that did not make the official record. He had been doing this for years. The cases they knew about were only the ones that got reported. Most did not. And that silence is not surprising. When you have been deceived by something that looks like authority, something that wore the face of protection and turned it into a weapon, you do not always know who to trust with the story afterward. The institution that was impersonated is the same institution you would need to approach to report the crime. That creates a psychological knot that many victims never fully untangle. There is also shame. The particular corrosive shame of having complied, of having done exactly what you were supposed to do, followed every reasonable instinct, and still ended up as a victim. That shame keeps people quiet. And that silence is exactly what allows someone like this to operate for years before a single case reaches the right desk. The broader lesson here is not simply about one man in Arizona with a modified vehicle and a practiced voice. It is about the infrastructure of trust that holds societies together, and what happens when that infrastructure is deliberately exploited. Every time someone impersonates law enforcement and gets away with it, the damage is not just to the individual victim. It is to the collective willingness to trust, to comply, to believe that the person approaching your window in the dark is there to help you. That erosion is slow, it is quiet, and it is exactly as dangerous as the crime itself.